one of my good buddies at Google from my Google days was running corporate development at the time. His name's David Lowy. He now started and runs Google's private equity arm. But so I had Dave come and speak to us about acquisitions. And at the time, Samsung, because we have 70,000 people working in R&D, we spend $13–14 billion a year on our own development. So anytime someone had wanted to make an acquisition, someone would always say, "Oh, we're working on that," or we've got a team in Berlin doing something like that, and so the acquisition typically wouldn't happen. And I had Dave come up, and I think I can share this. He said, "We have probably the greatest or largest collection of software engineers, certainly one of the largest collection of software engineers in the world, and we do in any given year 30, 40, 50, 60 acquisitions, most of which you never hear about." And jaws dropped. And David said, I had a performance review at the end of the year with Larry, and I came in, feeling very good about how many deals we'd done and how the deals were doing. And in fact, we track through data how an acquisition does 3 years after the deal, because as many of us know, acquisitions typically fail or they don't meet the goals that you originally had. And he went in there, and there was something, a very large percentage of successful integrations. And Larry dinged him. And he said, why? Why are you doing this? And Larry said, if your failure rate isn't higher, then you're not taking enough risk. And in our company, where Six Sigma and precision is like the religion, people couldn't believe it. He was getting dinged because he didn't fail enough.
So did that change how people within Samsung thought?
For those groups, yes, because this idea of embracing risk is an important thing when you're trying to innovate. And it can't just be a platitude. It can't be just something that you put on a wall, but it forces you to think about culture. It forces you to think about compensation systems. It forces you to think about the type of people you bring up. And where it had impact was not just in our acquisitions. My group has since made 23 acquisitions, so I think the company's been waking up about acquisitions. Functionally, that's great. But culturally, what it did is it also helped underscore something that may be pertinent for media companies, and that is the things that make a hardware company successful is precision, is to get it as perfect as possible. You can't sell a TV in a Best Buy and say, oh, we put the knob in the wrong place, and you can't put something in the can and decide that you wanted to change the second act of that piece of content.
Right.
So once it's done, it's typically done. And so everyone's striving to make it as perfect as possible. Well, in software, it's
the antithesis of
quite
perfect,
different,
right?
Like perfect is the enemy of good enough.
Right.
You launch early and you iterate. And so what it underscored, that meeting for our leaders was, oh my gosh, the way of thinking and the way of operating is so different. So we've got to get serious about this. And that's when I came up with the proposal for this group. Actually, you guys keep on doing exactly what you're doing. Keep on making those great phones and TVs. Why don't we have a group that does that? And over time, we can embed some of that DNA and some of those people in your organization. But it's going to be hard for you to do both overnight.